Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to Time Capsule here on the Games Done Quick Hotfix, the show where we travel back in time to your favorite years in gaming and speedrun our way through popular or influential games released in a particular year. I am your host, SmoothOperative. Thank you very much for joining us for tonight's theme of games from the year 2000. The contrast tonight featuring speedruns of Splatoon and later Batman Arkham Knight. But before we get into the games, let's get into some announcements. First off, Frost Fatale's game and volunteer submissions are now open until November 14th. You can go to gamesdonequick.com for more information on that. Also, the GDQ 2022 online schedule is out, so congrats to everyone that was accepted into the marathon. Keep in mind that prize submissions are open as well, so if you are interested in contributing any cool prizes to the marathon, you can go to gamesdonequick.com for more information. But for now, we are going to start up the time capsule with a speedrun of Splatoon, so please welcome Talon and Hydrus to the show. Talon, why don't you start off the introductions?
Yeah, so what's up everyone? I'm Talon Neon. I've been a Splatoon series speedrunner since 2017 and here to show off a Splatoon 180% run for y'all. And I am joined today by my good friend Hydrus. What's up?
Hi guys, I'm Hydrus. I've been a Splatoon series speedrunner since March 2018. I was actually the person who inspired Ian to run the game. I broke the 3.5-year-old world record for the original any percent record of this game, and I'm one of the few people to have all 6 records as well. I'm excited to commentate this run today with the new strats.
All right, well, it's very nice having you both here. Talon, I don't know if you want to share your screen with us so Hydrus and I can see it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries. We'll get that
there
set up.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. And whenever you're ready to do the countdown, we can get this rolling.
Okay. I'm ready to go in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, good luck.
Thank you. If you want to explain some of the basics of the game, just as I breeze through intro.
Yeah. So there's not too much going on in tutorial. It's just a lot of basic movements. So Splatoon, if you guys don't know, is a third-person shooter released by Nintendo back in May 2015. It was one of the first original IPs from Nintendo in quite a long time, and it's very unique in that it's a motion-controlled based shooter, but it's not actually based in like IR pointer technology like the Wii Remote. It's actually like gyro sensor technology, so the motion controls are very efficient. The game was literally designed with motion controls in mind, and it makes the third-person shooter experience, like the movement, very cool and unique for a lot of games. You know, it's one reason why I keep coming back to this game and the series in general. Is the movement is just very crisp in general. Yeah, not a lot happening there.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to mention this too. I actually thought in the middle of the level that going up the ramp on the right was faster, but you got a 48 tutorial by going up the middle. I actually found that kind of interesting. I thought that saved like half a second. So
apparently, it's the intro's 48.5 now. I don't know exactly how I would save time over you, but
yeah, I believe so. You're gonna notice very quickly there. What briefly flashed in the top right corner of the screen there was a version that Ian is playing on. The reason that Ian is playing on version 1.0 is because of the homebrew software that he's using to play the Japanese version. He's also playing on a Japanese Wii U. 1.0 actually does save time, kind of like SMO. It's Stereo Odyssey. It saves about 4 seconds over the course of the run. You know, it saves the most time in the plaza load, and you know, it's pretty significant on fade outs and fade ins. And you're also going to notice.
Can I mention something about that 1.0?
Yeah.
So the thing about version 1.0 as well, there's going to be a certain enemy in this version that wasn't nerfed yet in the single player. There's this thing called the squeegee, and they're going to be a lot faster as a result. So version 1.0 ends up being kind of a risk reward to run on, but at top level, it's nearly a requirement.
Yeah, I believe it's the squeegees, as well as possibly the flutters with enemy aggression. I'm not actually sure. Also, some of the audio is bugged out, particularly in some of the boss fights, you'll notice that. One thing I do want to... Yeah, the squeegees are evil, by the way. You'll see why later. Yeah, so one last thing I want to mention before we kind of get into gameplay here is the Japanese... You'll notice that he's playing on the Japanese version of the game. The reason why is this saves about 36.5 seconds throughout the course of the entire 50-minute run, and it's quite significant in such a short category like this. The last thing I want to mention is that Ian is also playing on disc. Disc saves about 9 seconds over digital. I find that kind of surprising, but I was actually the one to time these things. So yeah, game Japanese is...
It's pretty weird that I think this is a common thing for many different Wii U games, that discs are faster than the actual digital version, which is pretty irregular from other consoles.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild is also like this. Yeah, the reason we're kind of explaining some statistics there and just kind of the history of the game is it wasn't a lot going on, but now we can kind of explain it. So Splatoon is kind of a unique shooter in that the way that you move is also your ammo count. So you'll notice the ink tank in the back of his character there, and that's how much ink you have. So the more ink that he shoots, the more time that he can swim. You want to be swimming more than running. Swimming is much faster because you're a squid. You got to go fast. You'll also notice there. You also notice there when he jumped into that room, he threw a bomb at the crates. And if you throw a bomb at like an object which contains like a key or something, or a place that's obstructing you, you don't have to like raise your cursor up and down to shoot it. It's already exploded. This is because this is actually a strat developed in Splatoon 2 that actually came to Splatoon 1, mostly because of Ian and myself, which is pretty interesting. That was a pretty solid level 1. Not a lot going on there.
Not too bad.
Yeah, I can kind of stop talking about some of the lore aspects of this game and what Splatoon is, because we're going to be getting into a trick. This is I'd say one of the biggest reset points in World 1. I've lost many runs to this.
Yeah, this is usually where you lose a large amount of runs at the start, and it's a trick called Cannonless.
Yes.
That's what I'm...
Yeah, so pretty much what Cannonless is, it's essentially just a cycle with two different moving walls independent of one another that's going to be at the end of the level, and Ian has to make a global cycle at the end of the level, and if he gets the first cycle possible, it saves around 10 seconds over using the cannon, which is the casual strat. In the cannon, you basically paint the ball a couple of times and then move up it, but with some very precise jumping and shooting. I believe it was discovered by Valu, if you know who that is. He's a very famous Mario speedrunner. He ran this game back in the day. He discovered some things. I'll be sure to try to credit him later on, but yeah, the movement here is very easy to screw up. Something you'll also kind of notice is that it's a little better in this game compared to Splatoon 2, but the gun will sometimes not exactly paint in a straight pattern, so you'll notice that Ian wants to take his time, but not waste too much time trying to like paint the ball as straight of a line as possible. Okay, we're going to be getting up to the wall right now, and you can jump out from the ledge barely there and barely re-grab or get back onto the bottom of the wall there, and that was a pretty good Cannonless. Yeah, it was a little late in the cycle, but still pretty good. Job well done. A lot going on there. Yeah, so, yeah, a lot of I wouldn't say all the levels in this game, at least half of them have some form of a global cycle. Also, something to mention is that he collected about 100 power eggs there, which is the currency in this game, to buy Seekers. Seekers are, if you're familiar with Splatoon 2, they're kind of like curlers, but they can actually target onto stuff and they do more damage, and they actually travel a lot farther. The problem is that they also have a lot more ink consumption as well. The reason I didn't mention the money routing is because it's super short, and generally you get a lot of eggs on the way. Like, you probably don't even think about the money route, right, Ian?
I keep a couple of numbers in mind,
yes.
But after you're out of level 2, you don't have to worry about it for the rest of the game.
Yeah, there is another money route that you do to buy a different sub-weapon in World 2, but after that you don't necessarily need to pay attention. Yeah, level 3, not too bad.
This is the first place that we end up using those Seekers, and they'll paint a nice straight line ahead for us that we can just follow behind.
Yeah.
And this ends up saving a ton of time, especially over enemy ink.
Yeah. Over enemy ink, over launch straightaways as well. You'll also notice sometimes, instead of shooting the Seeker, like going up to the Seeker shooting it, or going up to the ink rail shooting it and then going into it, Ian will either throw a burst bomb or throw a Seeker at the at the ink rail. It's actually faster to preemptively activate an ink rail before you enter it, because initially when you enter an ink rail, there's a bit of that entry lag, and you actually can't go into it immediately. That's a bit of a small optimization that you can do. But yeah, I don't think you have a timer up. That's fine. This has seemed pretty fast so far. What do you think, Ian? It's pretty fast so far.
I do actually have my splits up right now, and
you do?
Not too bad. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm cruising through.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is the easiest boss fight in the game or boss 3. I don't really know, because
I think this is
definitely
probably the easiest one. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you it's a lot easier to fail this compared to boss 3. We can kind of explain why, but yeah. Fun fact: this is actually one of the this is one of the bosses that actually is in Splatoon 2 Hero Mode and in Splatoon 2 Octo expansion as well. And you're going to see the first exploit or glitch of the run.
Yeah, we should explain the rapid fire glitch.
Yeah, so another reason why Ian bought the Seeker is obviously for those launch straightaways, but also if you have more than one sub weapon, you can do this thing called rapid fire glitch. It was discovered accidentally by Tones Ballones while he was doing boss 3. And essentially, what it is you're shooting and then mashing the D-pad at the same time. And I know that can be kind of weird because the D-pad and the joystick are really far away from each other, but yeah, Ian makes it work. And essentially what it does is it resets the cooldown of your gun, I believe every frame, and it makes the damage output a lot faster, even though you only have the level 1 gun. It makes the painting faster. The efficiency as well. Well, actually not the efficiency. It actually burns through your ink faster, but it also makes the DPS higher as well. So it saves about 1 second each time he does it on those tentacles. So he probably saved about 3 seconds.
Not too bad.
Yeah, on that boss fight. And RFG is something that we mostly use in boss fights. We use it a couple times in the overworld and in some levels, but it's mostly in the boss fights, especially in the final part of the game. And that's World 1 done. Just like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
not too bad.
Yeah.
Lots to talk about in World 1, but
yeah.
I think it'll chill a bit as we go into World 2, and then, well, there's lots to talk about in World 3. It'll pick up again, don't worry.
Yeah, World 2. Yeah, World 2 is generally where the movement, where the men are separated from the boys. And it's where the movement starts to, really show itself in general. Yeah, so you'll notice there in between the boss fight and loading into the next world, there's those Japanese text boxes, and that also saves time there, a couple seconds. Oh yeah, I don't think I explained this in World 1. So because Seekers do so much damage, you can basically, the quickest way to unlock a kettle, or like a level kettle, which is invisible when you're right next to it, is you throw a kettle, or you throw a Seeker at the kettle, and then you do 2 shots, and it unlocks the fastest. It has many, many different applications, even though burst bombs technically have more. It's just another thing. And yeah, like level 3, Seekers are doing a great job. And the launch straightaways here. Another fun fact is that Seekers actually can also go up walls. I don't believe there's many applications for that. I believe there's an application for that in level 16, I believe, in World 4. For the second room.
World 4.
Yeah, which you will see in this category. I'm just joking. You barely made that. I was kind of surprised.
Nope.
Yeah, so what kind of happened there was Ian was not super careful with painting the top of the ledge there, or the top of the wall, and because of that, he fell down and lost the cycle. It's probably going to lose him about 5 seconds, because it might make the final jump harder as well. That's why you kind of want to take your time making sure you paint the wall and as clean of the line as possible, but sometimes, you get screwed over, like by RNG as well. You can do a small little jump here by going across the gap. It's not really a corner cut, but the platform under the balloon is actually inkable, and you can just go right through the center there. And that's the first level of level 7.
Yeah.
Or the first level in World 2.
First level in World 2, yes.
Oh my goodness.
Not too bad. You missed that cycle. Kind of happens because the shot isn't very consistent, and you don't have a lot of time there.
Yeah. So if I can,
it works out.
If I can explain something that Ian did there, so you'll notice they unlocked a level while he went to this level, and that is due to power egg routing, and he's actually going to be using sub that he buys later in this world in that level. It saves more time, and there's also this mechanic where you can, so the gamepad itself has like a screen and anytime you unlock a level, you can tap your finger on the gamepad, and you can actually super jump to that level from any location in the level. In Splatoon 2, they relegate this to a menu, I believe, so it's a couple more button presses, but it's still pretty interesting. Yeah, you'll notice there that Ian actually shoots the center geyser there, and enemy aggro is actually pretty consistent in this game for the most part. It only really matters for one skip. If you shoot the center geyser there, it actually distracts all of the enemies, which is really nice because in this game, in comparison to Splatoon 2, if you take too much damage, you will die. There is no armor break mechanic where you just kind of slowly move around. You know, it was probably a pretty big adjustment for you, Ian, you know, adjusting to that, the armor break thing.
Yeah, it took a while. You have to be far more cautious in this game than you would in Splatoon 2.
Yeah, like you can get...
It's not that bad.
Yeah, like you can get armor. Once you lose the armor, it's pretty bad. So this is another big glitch. This was discovered by a Japanese speedrunner named Beats. I believe it was in a Skype call or from a Japanese website back in like 2016. This is a pretty wild skip. And pretty much...
Oh boy, you ready for this one?
Yeah. So this is pretty much how it works. So there's two different ways to do this, but he's going to be doing the faster way. So when you throw your slap bomb at the Zapfish, the Octoling is on a spawn pattern in the back to where if you aggro him, he'll actually super jump, and the super jump arc to where he's like flying actually happens to touch the Zapfish, which is the end level trigger. And the Octolanes in this game have the same AI as you do, so if they touch the Zapfish, it'll actually end the level. That route saves about 10 seconds over going up to the platform normally. It's really cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't work in any other level, but a neat little trick to kind of discuss, goes by pretty fast. And it's also pretty easy to do, so if you want to try it yourself, there's guides on how to do it. So this is the first kind of archetype we'll be seeing throughout the rest of the game, and these are called Octostriker levels. Are these in Splatoon 2? I forgot.
They are not in Splatoon 2 now.
Yeah, they're not in Splatoon 2. So pretty much what it is, you're going to be fighting this mini-boss called an Octostriker, and anytime you're seen for too long, he's going to fire this thing called Ink Strike, which is a special from the multiplayer. But because Ian moves so fast, you know, it doesn't even hit him. Yeah, so killing the mini-boss isn't too complicated. He's basically going to throw a bomb in the back to basically force it into to stun lock it in a specific position, also to get some splash damage, and then he can just shoot it. I believe it actually saves like 0.5 seconds to RFG all the Octostriker in Worlds 2 and 3, I believe. But it
does, yeah, but it's kind of inconsistent.
Yeah, because the Octostriker generally floats back. So yeah, because he has 100 power eggs, he's gonna buy these things called burst bombs. And burst bombs don't save a ton of time in 6, as in comparison to 5, which you're gonna be seeing after this, but it's very, very applicable, and you're gonna kind of see why. So this is one of the applications to burst bombs. This is one of the applications, these fans. So if you throw a fan at... Yeah, you almost fell there.
Yeah, I almost did. I'm surprised.
You would have had to reset that. Yeah, so if you throw a burst bomb at a fan, and it will instantly propel it to max speed instead of manually shooting it, and it's pretty nice. It's a pretty small time save in this level, but, you know, every second counts, especially in such a simple category like this, or optimized category at the high level. And burst bombs also have less ink consumption. It has the least amount of ink consumption in comparison to the other two sub-weapons. So as you can see there, he threw the burst bomb at those two Octarians, and then he went past them pretty effortlessly. It's actually not faster to throw a burst bomb at that fan, because if the fan goes too far down, you'll actually lose time because the fan will slowly go back up. It's kind of a weird mechanic, but it's just kind of how that room ends up working out. Also in the beginning of that final room, it's faster to walk to the first block and not swim to it. I don't know why it gives you a better angle, but yeah. And because you're just trying
to hit those fans 3 times each, so it's at the correct height and you can get off it faster, which is precise.
So I would say this is one of the worst levels in the game. I don't know about you, but I really hate this level.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's
Can't help but agree.
There's a variety of reasons why. So this is the level you unlocked at the beginning of World 2, and he super jumped to it, and now he has burst bombs. He can throw burst bombs at these sponges to instantly inflate them, and that's much faster than just shooting them. And he doesn't lose as much ink as well. This run can be kind of annoying. I remember Bluefish losing a couple runs. Or actually lost time to that as original world record. That movement can be pretty specific. It's actually faster to kill these, what are they called? Squeegees optimally. Instead of letting them fall over, I believe it saves a couple of seconds.
Yeah, those octo balls, if you can get them all taken out quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were called squeegees, my bad.
No worries.
Yeah, so he hasn't gotten it yet, but there is a glitch in this level which has never been patched. Or a glitch in this game which has never been patched since version 1.0. It's called Burst Bomb Glitch. Essentially what it is, you have a very small chance of when you throw a Burst Bomb into any particular surface or a sponge, it can actually disappear and lose all of that damage effects and pain effects. It'll disappear, like nothing happened. It's like a black hole sucked it up. And many runners can attest to how horrible that is, because this is 20 minutes into the run, and the early game is pretty boring in general. And World 2 can be also difficult. You might be a bit tilted. One thing I did mention with burst bombs that Ian did in the second to last room of level 5 is burst bombs also have that. They have that effect, or characteristic where if you throw it at a wall or a surface, it actually spreads ink the fastest.
Yeah, it explodes on contact, so it'll actually let you ink up sponges and walls much faster than any other sub would.
Yeah, so in NG Plus, you're throwing those burst bombs quite a bit. They're pretty OP in NG Plus. It's something that I wish they made possible again in Splatoon 2. I believe it's only an Octo expansion in a couple levels.
Yep.
And normally here you have to go to the top. That was really good.
Yeah, I know.
You normally have to go to the top there, but if you throw a bomb and then RFG the tentacle, you can actually barely shoot the tentacle from the bottom, and that saves about, I would say about 5 seconds, because you have to paint the wall, go up there, and then shoot it. I believe 6 players don't really go up there because do the RFG, because it's generally kind of precise. Yeah, they're using the RFG on the buttons, which are kind of the boss's weak spot, and also the tentacle. And that was very close. You were like basically at the thing there in the last frame.
I didn't get any ink back because this boss knocks you back once all of the belly buttons are popped. And you're trying to get a little bit of ink back so you can throw a bomb up there and do a quick rapid fire glitch. And I almost didn't have enough and I would have lost a lot more time.
Yeah, because you're moving, strafing, you're RFGing, and you're also managing your ink tank because it loses quite a bit of time. And it's just pretty annoying to try to RFG, but you barely run out of ink, so you have to do it all over again and recover ink. It's very annoying, but Ian got by through that with not too much to spare.
That was very nice.
I forgot to mention. So you'll notice that there is a scroll before the Zapfish, and you'll notice runners don't pick that up in the first boss, second boss, and third boss. And the reason for that is if you collect a scroll in a level and then exit the level, you have to exit a text box, which loses about 2.3 seconds. So you'll actually see runners curve around the scroll, which is the collectible in this game, to save that time. Another tiny thing. Using the burst bomb to activate the ink roll there. You can actually throw a seeker before this cutscene. Paints a path to that wall. Yeah, that was pretty clean.
Well, you ready for things to get crazy again? Because
this is not the shortest level in the game, but it's up there. So this skip is the reason why this game got revived in May of this year. It was discovered by a Japanese speedrunner named Fuyuniko, and it's a lot's going to be happening. But you can basically skip this entire level. It's really crazy. So how it's going to work is he's going to use a safer sub. He's going to draw the aggro of this Octarian, and then substrafe in a particular way to get a bunch of speed. And sometimes it can take. Sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. So he's going to lure the aggro of the Octarian, and he's going to substrafe at a specific time when the bullets are hitting him as he's jumping, so he can barely hit the ledge there. Yeah, so that was pretty good. Second try is pretty good. And because he landed on that ledge, that piece of collision out in the foreground, it's actually, if you throw a burst bomb, you can actually activate the final ink row, which leads to this final room. So you just skipped this entire level, and you saved about, I believe, a minute. I believe that's how much it saves.
It saves 53 seconds with this setup.
Yeah.
And missing a try and doing it again loses 15 seconds. So even though I died there once, I still saved a pretty ridiculous amount of time to playing that stage normally.
Yeah, 10 was 10 was easily one of the worst stages in World 3. I mean, there's a lot of really bad stages, but there's a lot of really precise movement. For newer runners, on average, that skip will save easily over a minute. It's very cool. Shouts to Fuyo Nico. They are a very popular Japanese Splatoon YouTuber. They're also one of the few Japanese players to have the record in this game. They've also ran Splatoon 2 as well. A very famous YouTuber. So you'll kind of notice in this level.
All right. Should I go and explain what I'm doing here?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to be doing a trick called Messiah Skip. There's this little grate coming up next to these boxes that has some weird properties. And if I get a jump off of it correctly...
It skips a checkpoint.
Wow, okay.
Nice, that was pretty good. It used a slightly slower setup there, which loses about 2 seconds, but that skip optimally saves about 12 seconds, and it essentially just skips a checkpoint marker, and it also skips collecting a key for a cage and going up an elevator, so going up the opposite side level. That was perfect RNG, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't think it was going to be perfect, and then that level ended up going fantastically.
Yeah, it's
which, for world record pace, it almost never does, so...
Yeah, it's the factor.
There you go.
Yeah, that was the factor I was going to mention, was that this is one of the few levels with major components of RNG, which is a main difference from Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 has quite a few levels, especially the final boss, which have run-ending RNG, and it's just awful. Main reason why some people don't like that game. But luckily, the RNG in this game only really varies in a couple levels by 5 to 10 seconds, and you don't really get bad RNG that often. Usually, most of the time, you can adapt to it. Yeah, like the level 8 in World 2, this is another Octoling level. It's really not that complicated. All you gotta do is just make sure you take the correct line here. If you go too far right, or if you sprout up out of the ink too early, you're actually going to aggro them. But he takes the perfect line there, and nice squid bag. That was pretty good.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, the burst bomb, he's again going to use the burst bomb to destroy the Zapfish. And it's actually faster, if you're jumping from an ink rail to a Zapfish, it's actually faster to jump and touch the top of the Zapfish rather than just go directly in front of it. It's a very small thing. Right there, with burst bombs as well, he's going to use a burst bomb and then a splat bomb to unlock that level. Burst bombs are very nice because you can unlock petals that are far away really quickly. So this is a strat that was actually not used in Bluefish's old world record or mine. This is a strat that Tones actually used and was not known about for a really long time. Can you explain it?
Once I hit it. So
yeah, not a lot.
As I go on top of that geyser there, it pushes me up with a bunch of momentum, and if I jump with good timing, I get launched up far enough that I just get put onto the top platform.
Yeah,
it saves a couple of seconds over going right on that stage and using a box to get up there instead, but it's also extremely risky. If you miss it, you're likely going to die and lose 15. So. Yeah,
because the only way to get up to that stage normally is by walking up a grating on the right side. There's actually nothing on the left side, so if you fail the geyser jump, which only saves 2 seconds, you're going to have to go all the way back to the right. Can't do box jump. It's pretty awful. Right side box jump was actually another strat discovered by Valu. Shouts to Valu back in the day. We discovered that back in 2016. It's a pretty easy strat. 13 is a level that a lot of beginners actually struggle with. The cycle skip is pretty much only possible in this level because of burst bombs. You're going to kind of see why in the second room.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a path that it's a little unintended. I don't think they were really expecting this one, but you know what?
Yeah, I might have to report your account to my dad who works in Nintendo. Yeah, exactly. So because he threw 2 burst bombs at the wall there, he was actually able to climb up it a lot sooner than he was intended to, and it made the wall climb a lot easier. And yeah, burst bombs actually, yeah, and because of the way that cycle is, you actually want to throw a burst bomb mid-air so you can barely cling onto the ramp and swim up it as well. and it lets you get a pretty nice time. This is definitely not the hardest cycle in the game. There's much harder cycles you can do in NG+. Yeah, so you can mess that up at the end. Luckily, if you mess it up, it doesn't lose that much time. It only loses about 3 seconds, but you can get an optimal wall cycle there and save a little bit of time. It doesn't really matter if you do it from the top of the ledge or the bottom, but it's a pretty minor thing. It's a lot of cycles you have to hit. It's probably one of the most cycle-intensive stages in the game, I would say, that you have to hit sequentially. So this is a really cool level. This level is all invisible. That's kind of the gimmick. It's called, I believe it's called Invisible Avenues in English. And speedrunners, know where all these platforms are. So this is one of the more satisfying levels to get good at, movement-wise.
Yeah, there's gonna be a part of the stage that
you're not
gonna wonder, like, oh, how do you know about all of this movement on all these things that you can't see? Like,
so if you briefly saw the targeting icon of the little robot there, the rocket robot, Seekers will actually automatically target enemies. They'll also target this. They'll destroy it in one shot. It's pretty nice.
Yep.
I don't believe there's a new strat.
I just shoot a Seeker here.
Yeah, you shoot. Yeah, so that's a strat I believe Mooffish actually came up with in your return to this game. You can throw a Seeker at that last enemy. You can kill him while you're going to the ball, so it saves a little bit. And all of this is complete muscle memory. He's going to be taking the tightest corners he can.
Not too bad. I better go slow.
And he's going to take another corner cut jump right there. The second one in that room. And yeah, that was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful movement. Yeah, so this final room is evil. Well, this final part of the room. Particularly because you're going to notice there, he skipped the checkpoint. And if you're going in the fastest way possible, usually skip the checkpoint. And if he dies, who can move the fastest, pretty much. See if he gets this. Oh, okay, so he took that kind of safe. Not too safe, but that is a strat that is kind of hard to understand because people have different visual cues for it. But pretty much, if you throw a burst bomb at the ink rail leading to the boss fight, you can jump from the level 11 ink rail to the boss 3 ink rail. It's pretty cool. It saves a little bit. It saves having to take another ink rail to the grate and then swimming up a wall. It's a pretty neat strat.
That strat can be pretty frustrating because if you miss that burst bomb throw and fall down, you have to jump back to level 11 and try again with the same strat.
And if you don't know where stuff is in the gamepad to super jump back to, that could lose even more time as well. That could lose up to 7 seconds. So this boss there's not a lot going on. He's kind of vibing. He's kind of chilling. But this is one of the easiest bosses in the game because it gives you such a large window for attacking him.
That was bad.
Pretty much how this boss works is the arena gradually gets smaller and smaller. You can paint less and less of the map. And pretty much the only ways you can save time in this is the beginning, the entry movement into the level, and how good your RFG is. Because there's this thing where if you shoot too far down, you'll actually hit the carapace or the shell of the boss instead of the tentacle. So you want to kind of aim up, but not too far up. The hitbox is more in the center, more than anything else. But pretty clean so far. This is honestly the hardest phase when you're playing this game casually. But again, you're given tons of time, and there's so many different ways to do this. That's honestly, I've seen a lot of different approaches to all of these phases, but they essentially just all come out to the same thing. You just want to stop him in his tracks as fast as possible. And Ian is making sure here that he's not staying too far in front of the glass panels, otherwise the Octo Whirl, which is the boss's name, will actually gain speed and fall and, reset the cycle, which is very slow.
Yes, if you miss the cycle there, it's like 20 seconds. You need to make sure you're giving Octo Whirl a very nice path.
With boss 4, it's even worse. Like boss 4, he shoots his teeth at you. It's awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming up on the
Hydrus, before we get into what's about to happen here, just to remind all the new people coming in that, what's up? I'm Talon, Hydrus is joining me, and we are running Splatoon 1 any %.
which is a very old and classic category. Also very easy to learn.
Pretty much do it.
Okay.
All right.
You want me to explain?
Just go nuts.
Okay.
Go nuts.
All right. So basically, I'm kind of a beast. All right. So this is one of the biggest sequence breaks in the entire Splatoon series. This was discovered by I believe a Spanish Skyward Sword glitch hunter / speedrunner named Hydrus. He discovered this 2 days after launch, and it skips this entire world that you're about to see here. This saves 13 minutes and is a staple in any percent. Originally, it was used a very hard setup, but now we're using a more consistent setup. Ian uses one of the safer setups compared to top runners. Pretty much, there's this very thin line on the side of this, because normally there's a bouncing like barrier there, but you can barely ink the ledge under the bouncing like death barrier. And this death barrier from World 4 to World 5 happens to be inkable, and there's inkable blocks actually going from World 4 to World 5. So yeah, that was a miss there. It's pretty punishing. We've all lost. Every runner who has taken this game, really any runner, has definitely lost a run to this skip. The skip itself is not pixel perfect, but there's a couple of pixels that you can swim on, and you can't be too far to the right, otherwise you'll fall off. Too far left, and you're actually going to bounce against the barriers. It has to be just in the right spot.
Oh.
Yeah, and every time Ian fails it, he respawns back there, and it costs about 10 seconds. So it's pretty punishing, and it's very hard to learn when you are a beginner, especially when you need to nail the first try. So yeah, that was like what, 4th try? I was talking there.
4th try.
Yeah, so 4th try.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Lost about, I would say probably around 30 seconds there.
Yep.
But not too bad. So because of that, you would think, how's he going to complete the rest of the game? Well, Hydrus actually did some testing, and he discovered that you don't actually need to complete World 4 to complete the game. If you complete World 5, Octavia will still unlock, even though you have not completed World 4. Again, it saves 13 minutes. It's a very cool skip. It's the second biggest time save in this game, next to Fuyo Nico's skip, or the skip that was done in level 10, where you go right from the beginning to the end. Not a lot to say here. I would honestly say this is one of the most boring levels in the game, because pretty much the only way you can save time is at the end. So one thing I would like to kind of fill in the omission here is that Messiah's skip was actually not discovered by Fuyo. It was discovered by a independent Japanese glitch hunter named Messiah. He posted it on his Twitter. Fuyo they shifted our attention to it, to the tweet, because it was a tweet in Japanese. We didn't necessarily know it existed. But
yeah, pretty much.
It's definitely a skip that might become easier, because there's actually a new setup that was discovered yesterday that could be easier. It's actually a third variation for the Messiah skip setup that's been discovered since June. But yeah, those two skips cumulatively save about a minute and...
It's a minute and 4 seconds.
Yes. Yeah, and there are very big reasons, especially Fuyo, why this game has been revived. They also save time in other categories as well, so it's just breathed a whole new light into this game. It's just awesome. So the only try you're going to be seeing here pretty much is a cycle at the end here. It's been moving in the cycle is very lenient. You got that first try. You need to be moving just fast enough so you don't fall, and make sure the edge is panned so you hit the side of that pinwheel as it goes up. And that was a great, fantastic 24 from Ian.
I almost fell down, I gotta be honest.
Right. Okay, so I've also lost a run of that. If you don't ink out that fan for long enough, it can be pretty awful. That's also very YOLO stride. You can jump from the block there to the pedal down there, and he's actually RFGing as he falls down, because the droplets, actually, the fall off damage actually causes more damage to the kettle, and then you throw a Seeker. It's basically like, it's minced at that point, basically. Yeah, this is the last Octoling stage in the run. You can take a little shortcut there instead of taking the intended path. This stage, fun fact, is actually extremely punishing in all scrolls, because the Octolians have the worst RNG pretty much ever. And
oh god, don't remind me about this stage in all scrolls.
Yeah,
no.
And the scroll is all the way on the opposite side of the stage, and you have to trudge your way back. It's very long, it's grueling, it's traumatizing.
Yeah, so if you've ever played Splatoon 1's multiplayer before, Like, we started in one side of the spawn point. The scroll in this stage is on the complete opposite side, like in the enemy spawn point.
Yeah, and
So going all the way over there to grab it is like 30 seconds.
yeah, and speaking of multiplayer, some of the maps from the single player are actually from the multiplayer. This is Black Belly Skate Park, the level that Ian played. There's Bluefin Depot, there's Salt Spray Rig, really bad map. And you're gonna see a little trick here. This is called Balloon Quick Hill. I don't know if he got it. Oh, we actually still got it. Let's go.
I got it and then thought I didn't.
Yeah,
my bad.
That was kind of scuffed. So
Don't worry about it.
yeah. The reason why that works is because if you remember before earlier in the run, the Ink Storm cycle only is ticking when you're out of the ink. So Ian is moving in a specific rhythm, going in and out of the ink and taking specific movement, not too slow, not too fast, to just make him stop and basically be stun locked in the ink strike animation at the end of the run, or at the end of the level. So when he's stuck, he can just throw a burst bomb at the balloon and it actually quick kills him. This saves a couple of seconds. It's a pretty cool strat.
Yep.
Okay, this is pretty much the only other level in Splatoon 2 that is completely RNG. And what I mean by RNG is the flutters have completely random patterns. Particularly this pattern in the end room has a ton of variance. Actually getting optimal RNG with a good level and a good unlock, which the unlock is also very hard. I remember I lost one of the best runs ever for the unlock on 22.
Yep, been there.
Yeah, we've all been there. So this is actually the last room, but it has a pretty cool mechanic. You're actually going to go to key, go back, and unlock a cage, and then you're going to go back to the top of the...
I'm going to go center.
Yeah, that is actually optimal. That saves like half a second. Shout out to Tones Ballones. I didn't know it saved time. It's actually faster because that is already pre-painted. So you need to shoot a giant Octo Commander. So that's actually that's like average RNG. Because he's actually moving away.
That could be worse, yeah.
Yeah, the worst RNG you can get is he can actually be all the way on the right, which means you have to go to the right, go back, and the line is really terrible.
I've only seen that like once ever, and it is awful.
Yeah, I've gotten it a couple times. It's pretty terrible. The best RNG you can get there is if the Octo Commander is actually in the middle, so you can go up, top right, and then cut that line to the Zapfish Cave. It's actually the best thing you can take. This is the last unlock you do in the run. It's also very easy to fall there. You know, the gun just doesn't paint the ink rail, and then you fall.
I almost did.
Yeah, and then what happens, because you didn't ink the ink rail, there's no ground under you, so you die. And then you have to jump back, and it's terrible. That's the last unlock in the run. You can also throw a burst bomb there to distract those two stamps, and it hits their weak point pretty effortlessly. It's another sponge-based stage.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
This stage has got a lot of like corner cuts around the place. It's gonna have a lot of sketchy jumps.
Yeah,
the last two stages before the final boss are very dangerous overall.
Yeah, they're very easy to choke in. And, you know, Ian and I have both lost time to this in our, associated world records. We both lost time to these levels. I almost lost my run in this in my 51-14.
Yeah, my current record, 49.58. Could have been almost 10 seconds faster.
Or 58, yeah.
If I didn't botch the last two stages.
Yeah. That's the one thing I know. So there's only two bad stages in the run, I would say. You'll notice, actually, also earlier in this level, he'll throw a Seeker at a sponge. And this is kind of the same concept. You want to activate something before you go towards it, so it's instantly swimmable. It's instantly traversable. This is a pretty cool manip with the enemies. He's going to go bottom right and then go bottom left to manipulate these guys' spawns. I almost thought he wasn't going to super jump there. That was kind of a weird... That was a sussy spawn. That was weird.
Yeah, I could have done that better, but it did work out.
Yeah, and so he threw a splat bomb at that left enemy as he super jumped down. Killed him, and then killed the right guy. In Squid Amiibo, you actually don't have... You have a limited amount of ink there, so you actually use the Inkzuka to kill both of those enemies, and then activate the Inkzuka at the end. It's a pretty creative strategy in Inkzuka towards the end of that level. Very cool strat with the Burst Bomb. There's a couple last applications we'll see in this run. You can skip, because normally that rotating tower cube, you have to like wait for it to rotate and finish before you can climb it. But if you ink the side of the switch, if you ink the side of the switch, you can actually ride it as it goes up, and it's really cool. It's a really cool strat.
Yeah. I almost messed it up there, but it did work somehow.
Yeah, normally there you have to activate a couple of switches to rain down those cubes, but if you throw a burst bomb at the final switch with a really well-timed jump and a bomb throw, you can kind of skip that, a little bit of a sequence break, and he picked up the Inkzuka to actually save it for that section. It's actually faster to use the Inkzuka to kill all those enemies because of how far away they are versus the previous room, or the previous 2 rooms ago. Little routing thing with the, use the Seeker to target the enemy. That's a mechanic that was used in level 11. Gonna pop the Bubbler, which is a multiplayer special to, not damage boost.
RNG with that flutter.
Yeah, that was pretty bad RNG.
Oh well.
And you pop the Bubbler to actually become invincible. You can just go through there, get the key, and right up the wall. And that is pretty much the entire game. I don't know where we're at right now time-wise. If you could...
43 and a half minutes.
That is not... Yeah,
going into Octavio.
that's not bad. I mean, you didn't miss a lot. There's only a couple notable mistakes, and even those were only around 30 seconds long. Yeah, the fastest way to get to Octavio is super journey back to 25, going up to the saucer thing, and then going to Octavio.
Don't judge me for my secret. Don't judge me for my secret throw, okay?
Yeah, I am gonna judge you because that's slower.
No.
You're terrible. All right, so.
Oh, I lost half a second. No.
Right. Yeah, so this cutscene is pretty long, and there's a lot of cutscenes in Octavia that you can't skip. Kind of the same thing as Splatoon 2. And this boss fight is awesome. The music is awesome. The boss fight is awesome casually. The speedrun is banging. It's cool.
This is probably
the best boss.
This is easily the best speedrun boss in the entire series.
Yes.
It's not even close.
By far. Inner Agent 3 kinda comes close.
Okay, that one's close.
Yeah, that one's pretty close, but it's also pretty short if you know what you're doing. But this boss, this is the original OG. This is the boss fight people remember. This is the boss fight that you struggle with, that you raged at when you died in Phase 5 and you threw your gamepad out the window or right into the toilet. It's kind of weird.
Alright, let's get going.
There's nothing happening in Phase 1, unfortunately. Yeah, you'll see in certain, it's particularly in Phases 1 and 5, or no, 1 and 4, there's text boxes that you mash through. Japanese actually saves about 7 seconds in this boss. And that's pretty much the last opportunity in the game that Japanese could save time. So the reason why we're not really talking a lot about Phase 1 is the way that the skips work in this boss is he needs to fire one fist after the other. But unfortunately for this phase, he's only be firing one fist at a time. Pretty much the only thing you can optimize is the RFG, which I didn't mention, I apologize. But the fastest way to return a fist is to RFG it, which is the concept that I described in Boss 1. And it's faster than just normally shooting it. It fills up the fist with ink faster. And it saves so much time in this fight. This fight is so hard without RFG. It's possible to do all the skips, but it's way harder. Shouts to my Squid Amiibo runners. Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this first set of fists is not a fist skip, but a fist optimization. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna normally shoot that fist to the ground, and then as soon as he shoots it, the last possible second, the second fist will be in front of his face. That is just an optimization. That's not a fist skip or a cycle skip. So this is a fist skip. So he did get it there. So there's two different ways to do cycle skips. There's fist skips and there's cycle skips. Fist skips, they're not faster everywhere, but it's pretty much when you mash and this game is 60 FPS, by the way, so you have to mash so fast that the game does not register that the next fist is programmed to come out. So Ian mashed so inhumanly fast there that the game programming could not even recognize that the first fist hadn't even been out, for a couple seconds. So job well done. That was a perfect cycle skip, and he saved about 10 seconds there. He saved about 10 seconds of attack animation. So yeah, fist skip, cycle skip, they're essentially the same thing. They skip parts of Octavio's attack patterns. So this one's the big one. This one saves about 30 seconds or so. And let's see if you can get a fist skip here.
Got it.
Very job well done. Wants to pick up the Inkzuka here. He's at the routing decision for that. I will explain kind of later on. Yeah, so if Ian, one thing I do want to explain also is that fizz skips are not faster than normal cycle skips. They're essentially tied with speed. It's just when you get better at the game, they're much more consistent to do if you're very good at mashing, and it makes it a lot less of a headache, especially for that first thing in phase 3, because if he missed that cycle skip, the fizz skip, the second fist on the left would probably hit the ledge above, and it would probably lose a ton of time.
I almost lost that there.
Yeah, he got the Inkzuka in the middle of the level there because it's faster to use the Inkzuka to hit back the subwoofers, which are the things they sense back at the end of every phase. It's not always faster, but I'll explain why at the end of this, leading into phase 5. So, Ian is actually going for the high-level optimization here, where you actually do a cycle skip here, which is a lot more precise than just doing a fist optimization than then doing a fist skip. He's just doing one fist and then doing a fist skip. Fantastic job there. That was great. I remember I was learning that. I just did not understand it for a while. That saves about 2 seconds compared to just shooting both fists and, normally, and then doing the fist skip. Because if you miss the timing for that in really any way, he's not going to get sent back as far, which is why it's a higher level optimization. All these cycle skips have been performed beautifully so far, and phase 4 is actually one of the only phases where you're allowed to miss one fist. You gotta do that at the end if you do the beginner strat, or in the beginning if you do the advanced strat. So you're gonna be asking, streamer, why is he not, using Inkzuka here? The reason for that is quite simple. It saves more time to use the Inkzuka at the end of phase 5 compared to phase 4, because in phase 5 they're a lot farther away than in phase 4. That's the reason why.
Yeah, in phase 4, DJ's already in your face, so there's really no reason. It's even, I'd say it's harder to Inkzuka. You might as well just shoot it with your actual hero shot.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we're coming up in the final phase of the boss fight. Only a couple of cycle skips left. This is the last fist skip in the run. This is probably one of the easiest in the game. You can even do this in NG Plus without mashing. So he gets it. Boom. Perfect. Perfect so far. And that is the last cycle skip in the entire boss fight. After this, I believe it's just 2 more fist optimizations where he's essentially just shooting the first fist so late that the second fist is in front of his face. That saves travel time and just time in general. If Octavio does it, this song is amazing right now.
Start vibing.
Yeah, straight.
Just start vibing, y'all.
Right. Yeah, and what was I gonna say? Yeah, you'll notice an easy way to kind of cheese this boss fight is that Octavio pretty much only remembers the last spot that you were in. So because of that, Ian's just going to wait to the left here, and Octavio's not going to notice him at all. Alright, so last fist optimization right here. And there you go. I didn't even need to explain normal cycle skips. Ian's such a gamer. You got all the fist skips first, try it anyway. There's 4 of them that you have to nail. And missing one of them can be pretty crucial, or pretty awful. So coming up on time here, time's going to end when Octavio is sent back into the robot when that yellow spark appears. So perfect, great RNG. And that is time.
Ooh, good job.
Perfect.
I don't know what he...
Oh, hey, I got a 51-14. How about that funny time, Hydrus?
That's ironic, because if anyone does not know, I mentioned this in the game, but I was the person to break the longest single record in the Splatoon series, and I got a 51-14, and Ian just got that with some huge mistakes and some new skips. So, that just goes to show how much time there is to save now, how much easier and more fun there is to learn the game. That's really cool. That's actually really cool. It's 51-14. It's kind of magical.
Kind of crazy, yeah.
That was a magical run to watch. So thank you so much, Talon, for running that, and Hydrus for the commentary.
For sure.
Did y'all have any shout outs or anything that you wanted to mention before we switch over to the next game?
I will let Ian go first.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, my only real shout out for Splatoon 1 is you, Hydrus, because you got me into this game in the first place. But
thank you.
Shout out to Fuyuniko and Messiah for finding these new skips that let this be so much more optimized.
Yeah, thank you, man.
That's about it for me.
Yeah, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It's surprisingly wholesome. I would like to thank all the older runners, the newer runners, keeping this game's rich history alive, even though it has its dead periods. I just want to thank them for trying to keep the game alive. I want to thank the new boys, especially Pika, Squid Sushi, Ian. They're all super cracked. They all stream on Twitch. Go follow them. Their Twitches are on the leaderboard, the Splatoon leaderboard, if you go to their profile. I like to shout out the community for being so fun. I cannot wait for Splatoon 3. And please, if you want to try to learn this game, we have resources in the Discord. And it's super easy to learn. It's super beginner friendly. I don't really have anyone else to shout out, but yeah, shout out to all of you for watching, and hopefully I didn't do too bad on commentary. I tried to explain everything.
No, it was very
you did
informative.
fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I want to.
Well, Yeah, sure. Well, thank you all so much for watching the run of Splatoon. If you enjoyed this run, make sure you follow our runner at twitch.tv/TalonTrotunian, as well as commentary for tonight. That was Captain Hydrus here on Twitch. But before we break, if you are watching this on YouTube from the future, feel free to join us over at twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick to check out all of our live shows starting most nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And while you're there, Hotfix is funded in part thanks to your subscriptions and bits, so please consider subscribing to help support future content. We'll be right back with Batman